30 days and 30 videos later, here we are at the end, talking about two movies so beautiful and emotionally impactful that to try to claim either is better than the other would be a crime, so they're both my number one. My favorite anime that I watched in 2017 are the films Your Name and A Silent Voice. And just thinking about how to approach talking about these movies is already hurting my head. So to simplify, let's divide this video into 3 sections. One for each film individually, and then a part to answer why this is a tie. A brief warning, spoilers for everything, everywhere. Now, let's start the end by talking about Your Name. All of the characters in this film, the main characters especially, are so much fun to watch. That is in part due to the premise, yes, which we'll get to, but they're also great on their own terms. Mitsuha is a girl living in a quiet country town who yearns for a more exciting life, which is a simple enough setup that's greatly expanded upon as the film progresses. She may yell about how she hates her town, but that doesn't mean she doesn't make the most out of living there. She hangs out with friends and regularly helps out her grandmother. She's a decent person, made more relatable by her desire for more. Taki, the Tokyo boy, leads a more chaotic life. His day-to-day routine has him juggling school, a job, a crush, and a dour home life, all of which helped make him a character to empathize with. Like Mitsuha, he desires some change, but unlike her, he isn't sure what. Their characters are developed further, and thus made more fun to engage with, by the movie's central plot element, the body switch, along with their relationship. What's really cool about the body swap is that it turns out that they were the change they needed in each other's lives, though it takes a long time for them to realize that. The early part of the movie is dedicated to them figuring out what the hell is going on. And once that's done, there's a brief exploration of the various effects the swap is having on their lives, or, more accurately, the effect Mitsuha and Taki are having on each other's lives. This part of the film is endlessly entertaining for 2 reasons. First off, it makes for great comedy. There's a lot of laughs to be had from one of them simply waking up to find that the other during the swap did what? But what's more important is the mostly positive changes they affect in each other's lives. Mitsuha's Taki makes Taki a nicer, more caring person, and that leads to Taki landing a date with his crush, which ends up being a humbling experience to Taki. Taki as Mitsuha makes Mitsuha a more outgoing and expressive person, willing to speak her mind. Mitsuha is shown to have insecurities about her situation she doesn't like to speak about, but Taki doesn't stand for that, which ends up garnering Mitsuha a more respectable reputation. Through all of this, Mitsuha is eventually able to stand strong on her own, a development to strengthen her character. At first, neither of them see the changes the other is making in their lives as positive. There are many freakouts and getting angry and calling the other an idiot. As time passes, they get more level-headed about their situation, and start to realize that maybe it's not all bad. They can begrudgingly admit that some good has come out of this whole situation, and just as they start to realize that they might like each other, the plot kicks into high gear. The whole first part of the film works so well, not just because it's fun, though it very much is, but because it feels so real, despite the ridiculous premise. It works so hard to establish and flesh out these characters and their situations that I was attached to and believed these characters by the time the plot kicked in. And when that oh crap moment of the plot coming into play came about, you can bet my heart stopped. The plot-heavy section of Your Name was just as engaging as the character-focused body swap shenanigans. Every scene prior had done such a good job of fleshing out Mitsuha and Taki that I was game for whatever they were going to get up to, but I was not ready for how invested I would get in seeing how they would deal with, you know, everyone dying. That's kind of a big deal. The entire climax had me, and I hate to use these cliches, but they're true, on the edge of my seat, watching with bated breath, desperate to see if and how Mitsuha and Taki would save the day and live. The film's emotional climax on the mountaintop, where Mitsuha and Taki finally got to talk face to face, had me tearing up. So many emotions were ramped up in that scene, from the simple joy and laughter of finally meeting, to the bittersweet sorrow of the briefness of it all, the dreaminess that makes them forget. Mitsuha reading what Taki wrote on her hand a couple of minutes later broke me, working as a final payoff to all the emotional turmoil up until then. I was so emotionally invested in these characters in this film that I am incapable of seeing the value in any nitpicks one might have about the film, or any perceived plot holes someone thinks they found. Like I've heard complaints to the effect of, why didn't they realize they were in different years? Ignoring that they experienced the body swap like a dream, and dreams are fleeting things we barely remember and don't often make sense of. Even if that was an actual problem, guess what? If a film can attach me to its characters and story so hard that I can hear plot holes like that and then rewatch the film and have those plot holes not matter and still enjoy the film just as much, is that not a sign of a great film? or at least a sign of mastery in the art of emotional manipulation. Something else. The recurring visual motif of threads works on both a visual and storytelling level. Visually and thematically, the main characters are tied together. In the early part of the film, Mitsuha's grandmother talks about the historical significance of the thread, how it ties people together through space and time. This is relevant to the story, as Taki is tied through time to Mitsuha by a band she gave him, and it helps to visually tie things together in the film's more abstract moments. Speaking of visuals, I must mention that this film is bloody gorgeous. It is 100% wallpaper bait. Every single background is beautifully rendered. All the colors are bright and vibrant, contributing to the feel of a busy Tokyo or a cheery town. In the animation department, I noticed little in the way of still shots. When there was a still shot, it was usually the camera lingering on nice scenery. The characters were not often still, which gave each scene a sense of momentum, the likes of which are usually attributed to Akira, though not quite to that degree. The character designs are simple and elegant, allowing for a believable range of movement and expressiveness that gave each new scene with each character a unique look. Just writing this, I can already tell that the most difficult part of making this video will be finding the right screen caps from this movie for the thumbnail, because there are so many great moments that just picking one will be a nightmare. Honestly, I can't think of anything about this movie not to love. I love its characters, I love its visuals, I love everything. Now, moving on to A Silent Voice. This was a movie that grabbed my attention right away. It opened with the main character about to kill himself, and if that's not a great hook, then nothing is. This brief opening scene already had me asking questions and wanting to find out what the hell was going on. Then it proceeded to make me feel bad about not knowing jack about music by having an opening number from The Who, a scene which works both as a fun montage establishing what routine life is like for these characters, and as a reminder for me to Google what the hell this song is after the movie's over because I dig it. Not even 4 minutes into this 2-hour movie and I'm already completely sold thanks to an interesting main character and solid choice of music. Now that's what I call tech construction. The rest of the movie has even more going on. This film is about bullying, but actually it's mostly about the after effects. What becomes of the bully after they've stopped? How do the victims move on with their lives? And how important to one's life is an episode of bullying if it took place so long ago? Those questions and more this film sets out to explore. Hey, nice rhyming. Never before in any media have my feelings on a character been so rapidly and violently changed several times within one story as they were for Ishida, the main character of A Silent Voice. First, I'm intrigued by him because the film opens with his attempted suicide. Then we travel back in time and through the montage start to like him because he's a cute kid having a fun time with his friends. Then, the deaf girl Nishimiya is introduced and Ishida starts bullying her, and very quickly I start to loathe this kid. Then his life goes to shit and he earns back my sympathy because despite trying really hard to be a better person and make up for his sins, he still struggles to earn the trust of others, or to trust others himself. Then things start looking up, but Ishida mouths off to his friends, and I sour to him, though I understand his feelings, and frankly, at least one of them deserved it. Then he tries to lighten up and I'm feeling better about him, and then... oh, fuck. That is all to say that I felt a lot of different things about this character throughout the film's runtime. He is one of the least static characters I've ever seen, constantly learning and growing, and that's only a good thing. People aren't static, we're learning new things and trying to better ourselves on a day-to-day basis. Because Ishida changes so much over the course of the movie, he felt so very, very human. And because he felt human, I was able to believe in him, get invested in him. I wanted to see where this character would go, and all of that is indicative of strong character writing. Speaking of character writing, this film boasts a fairly sizable, fleshed-out cast for a movie. There are many characters with a unique relationship with or perspective on the bullying that happened early in the movie, and all of those differing and sometimes clashing perspectives are the source of much of the film's drama. You've got some people genuinely trying to make a difference and move on, some ashamed of the past, and some who can't let go. None of these perspectives are wrong or feel unreal. I can understand where almost all of them come from, and the film does such a fantastic job at fleshing out these characters that I have a vested interest in seeing how they deal with their situation. Even the characters who I outright dislike have a logical and understandable place in the narrative, and the film is stronger for having them in it. How this film managed to hit me full in the feels, though, was in the relationship between Ishida and Nishimiya. They start off as bully and victim, but even then their relationship wasn't simple. Nishimiya was always trying to be Ishida's friend, and Ishida, being a kid, couldn't comprehend someone who was so different from him, the sum total of which is heartbreak. Once they've reunited after years of separation, a humbled Ishida tries to make up his wrongdoings to Nishimiya, who's scared at first, then receptive. Even after all he put her through, she was still willing to try to be his friend, which shows in her an emotional strength no other character demonstrates. deteriorates. They hang out more and more, wounds start to mend, and finally they start to fall in love. A development to warm the heart made cold by the events of years past. And then Nishimiya attempts suicide, calling back to Ishida's attempt at the start of the film. This event, despite nearly killing Ishida, solidifies their relationship. Nishimiya learns from this event what Ishida figured out when he tried to kill himself, the heartbreak they would cause. Their nighttime reunion on the bridge once Ishida wakes up acts as the film's emotional climax, definitively bringing them together, and bringing tears to my eyes. And before I bring this section to a close, I can't go without mentioning that this film is also bloody gorgeous. From the cool character designs to the cool, washed-out colors, which KyoAni seems to be infatuated with, this film is never not pleasant to behold. I especially dig the film's use of focus to give a sense of three-dimensionality to scenes that might otherwise look flat, a trick that works especially well with some extreme close-ups that work to make the viewer intimately familiar with how a character is feeling. Try as I might, I can't find fault with this film. I can find characters I dislike, but that's not because they're poorly written. They're written to be disliked, so they do their job well. The main characters I love, the film hits me hard in the feels. What's not to love? Now I have but one question left to answer. Why are these films tied? Why do I not rank one above the other? Honestly, I don't have a good answer for you. I can tell you that these films both made me feel hard. I've watched both of these movies twice. The latest was a back-to-back viewing in preparation for this video. On every occasion that I viewed these films, I've teared up to each of them. My heartstrings were tugged. I fell in love with their characters, marveled at their visuals. I can't say either communicated their emotions better or worse than the other, nor can I point to any arbitrary fault or nitpick and say, that's why it's a worse movie. No. In my eyes, these films are both masterpieces. They are both one of my favorite films of all time. And of course, they are both my favorite anime that I watched in 2017. This has been a journey. 31 days, 31 videos, 31 anime, plus extra. We've worked through it all, and we're finally at the end. We've gone from some of the worst stuff I've ever seen to some of my new favorites and everything in between. This has been a wild year in anime for me, and it's a ride that's not going to stop anytime soon. I sincerely thank you all for sticking with me through this crazy month. And if you're somehow new to this channel, oh boy, do I have a load of content for you. And now, it's finally time for me to ask, what was your favorite anime you watched this year? Leave your thoughts in the comments, I'm truly curious. And now the final farewell. Thanks for watching the end of 31 Days of Anime 2017. Today was number 1, a tie between Kimi no Nawa and Koe no Katachi. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all again on this channel for a new year of anime and videos. I'll see you all later.